For those of you watching live, that was a test and you passed it. Thank you. We just wanted to see how long will people wait. No, we had tech problems, obviously, but thank you for being here, everybody. It's a new week, a disastrous week, but we're here. We got the whole team. I'm still John, and it is gonna be fantastic. You thought I was faking it in the fake intro. She's actually here, Francesca Fiorentini. How's it going?
Hi, John. I hope that I can be
I'm looking
heard.
at the chat.
Hope it's all good.
I'm looking to make sure. Anyway, so we're not gonna go super in depth about what's happening. It's some sort of weird thing with Skype and our software that I guess doesn't affect enough people for Skype to acknowledge, and there's no way of knowing if it's gonna happen. It's great.
Everyone needs to at Skype right now. That's how we will solve it together, Dragon Squad.
Totally, and also the exact same thing happened to Cuomo last Friday. So it happens, like it happens. But anyway, we're very glad to have you here. You've been gone for a long time.
Yes.
I assume gallivanting across the world. I don't know. What were you up to?
I've been spreading the good gospel of the Dragon Squad and the Bitchuation Room and the Twitchuation Room, which is my new Twitch show on Wednesdays, 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. You guys got to get up on that on TYT's Twitch channel. So.
Awesome, that's gonna be a lot of fun. And you come back upgraded with cool changey lights. That's how you know she does a Twitch show. She has colored LEDs in the background.
I don't play games, but I got the lights. Love me.
Okay, we're gonna get you on a game. Okay, everybody, we got a lot. You know, you've heard me say it a billion times. Why don't we just launch into this story? Why don't we do that? The first story.
Just finished with our meetings here at the White House this afternoon. We had a great planning session for our January 6th objection. We aren't going to let this election be stolen by Joe Biden and the Democrats. President Trump won by a landslide.
Reporting from Crazy Town. Now that's Marjorie Greene, and that was filmed back in December. She released it, reassuring their base. Remember, they had that hardcore grift, keep giving us money, just give us tons of money. We're totally gonna make it to the Trump's president. It didn't work out. But anyway, she's talking there about meetings, and it turns out there apparently were a bunch of meetings with people like Marjorie Greene as well as many others. Hunter Walker at Rolling Stone has 3 sources who say that various people who were involved in doing the protests on January 6th had contact with representatives, with their crews, with their staffs, and with the White House as well. So 2 of the sources say they participated in literally dozens of planning briefings ahead of January 6th. One says, I remember Marjorie Taylor Greene specifically. I remember talking to probably close to a dozen other members at one point or another of their staffs. It would be hard to forget Marjorie Greene because he actually at one point barricaded himself in a room and she was talking through the keyhole. You don't really forget that sort of thing. But anyway, along with Greene, you have Representative Paul Gosar, Lauren Boebert, Mo Brooks, Madison Cawthorn, Andy Biggs, and Louis Gohmert. Basically, if I asked you to put together the list of the representatives who had been involved with these crazies, you already know who it is. It's the crazies themselves. And so we have some information about how that went. And there is some pretty spicy and juicy stuff in here, but I do want to offer up a couple of caveats because we feel the need to do that. We feel the need to be responsible and ethical and all that, even though we're never given any credit for it. So one is that there are 3 distinct sources who've spoken to Rolling Stone about this and say that they are talking with the January 6th commission. That said, you never know with these stories until you have layers upon layers of confirmation of the specific claims being made. And bear in mind, these sources are people who were organizing protests in support of Donald Trump in January of this year. So bear all of that in mind as we go forward. But that said, before we launch into more of the details, Francesca, what do you think of this so far? What were you thinking when this was rolling out last night?
That yes, that of course this happened, right? We knew it happened. I mean, they even quote one of the Stop the Steal planners, Ali Alexander, who's like, again, one of these sort of like C-list Trump MAGA celebrities, who was like, yeah, me and Mo Brooks, me and Andy Biggs, me and Paul Gosar, and he's like going live on Instagram. Like we knew all of these things. So I'm glad now that we've got the actual insurrectionists, who I assume are the sources, coming out being like, yeah, man, we talked to all of these Congress people. And I'm eager to hear exactly what went down in those meetings.
Yeah, exactly. We only have a little bit of that, but I want to throw one extra caveat, and that is that with one or two major exceptions, which we'll get to, what is being alleged so far does not rise to the level of Marjorie Greene handed me a bunch of javelins and said, go get Pence. Like it's not that. They say that the demonstrations they worked on were the ones at and around what's called the Ellipse. So that's where Trump actually spoke. And bear in mind, he told them to go to the Capitol and then they did it, but somehow he's not involved. So they said they were gonna present evidence about issues with the election. Everybody forgot to do that, I guess. But they do say it was intended to put pressure on those who were going to object to the certification. The Capitol itself was never in play. So they are saying we weren't planning for the riot. We were planning for all these protests that then the riot sprang forth from. So none of this, as far as I've seen, directly says that Boebert or Gosar or anyone was like, I need you to start killing people and burning down the Capitol. I just want to put that out there again, caveats that would never ever be given credit for. But that said, there are a couple of issues with this that sort of imply that like maybe it didn't have to go the way it did. So one is that in addition to the what they call sort of the Ellipse protest, there was the wild protest, which was Alexander, who you were just talking about. So two of the sources who spoke with Rolling Stone say that there were early concerns about Alexander's event. They had seen him with members of the paramilitary group's First Amendment Praetorian and the Oath Keepers in his entourage at prior pro-Trump rallies. Two sources also claimed to have been concerned about drawing people to the area directly adjacent to the Capitol on the 6th, given the anger among Trump supporters about the election certification that was underway that day. One of the sources said they knew that they weren't there to sing Kumbaya and like put up a peace sign. These frickin' people were angry. And interestingly, they apparently went to Mark Meadows with those concerns ahead of the 6th, saying this guy Alexander has paramilitary people, they're gonna be right at the Capitol. And Mark Meadows in the White House just apparently didn't care or didn't do anything about it or understood that that was the idea. So that's the first of the two things that are, well, is this actually, this might be something.
No, everyone knew there was a possibility of violence, right? And even the speakers at the rally, like Representative Mo Brooks, was like, we're gonna march in there and start taking down names and kicking ass. That's literally what he said at the rally, right? And so suddenly, people are acting surprised that, the plan wasn't actually to storm the Capitol. What do you mean? You're calling it a wild march? That's the name of the protest. So you basically are like, I don't know, we're gonna have some flex cuffs, we're gonna have some tasers, we're gonna have, some people dressed in medieval gear, but we don't advocate violence. That is utter BS, right? It's a little bit of a like, we're gonna set this up for some of the more radical extremist elements to do their thing. But of course, they're never gonna sign their names on hey, the plan is to scale the wall like the zombies in World War Z.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like when let's say that my wife is out of town and I go shopping for food and I bring back the food that I bring. That doesn't mean that I'm gonna eat like 5,000 calories that day, but it certainly created the environment where it's likely that that sort of thing will happen. And I feel like that's what's going on here. But there's actually a couple more things that raise it to spicy levels. So one is, I wanna show you another video. I apologize, I'm making you look at Marjorie Greene quite a bit today, but here is another video that she put out in advance of the 6th.
We can't allow this just to be gone, just to let it go. You can't allow it to just transfer power peacefully like Joe Biden wants and allow him to become our president because he did not win this election. It's being stolen.
Okay, now while acknowledging that we cannot expect the same level of control over what she says out of Marjorie Greene, out of like a native speaker of English, it's kind of like when I used to wander around the streets of Cairo speaking Arabic. Like I kind of knew what I was saying. That's her with all words, but she does say there, we cannot do a peaceful transfer of power. Okay, I mean, in the first video, she's just like, we're gonna have our voices be heard. Call your representatives. Now she's saying it can't be peaceful. So bear that in mind. But here is the spiciest nugget, I think. And that is an allegation that is being made against Paul Gosar. So Gosar allegedly took things a step further. Both sources say he dangled the possibility of a quote blanket pardon in an unrelated ongoing investigation to encourage them to plan the protests. Gosar said, I was just going over the list of pardons and we just wanted to tell you guys how much we appreciate all the hard work you've been doing. One of them, the organizer, said, our impression was that it was a done deal, that he'd spoken to the president about it in the Oval in a meeting about pardons that our names came up. They were working on submitting the paperwork and getting members of the House Freedom Caucus to sign on as a show of support.
Yep.
So here's the thing about that. Nothing that we've said so far specifically in this about the representatives meeting with these people to plan the Ellipse protest or anything like that is illegal. So then why are they talking about blanket pardons? You do not need pardons for attending a peaceful protest. You don't need pardons for airing grievances or seeing the evidence or pressuring representatives. None of that requires a pardon because none of that is actually illegal. You need assurances of blanket pardons if you have an idea that people are going to be doing illegal things. And if Trump actually, we don't know that Trump was actually involved in this. Gosar, first of all, they could be lying about Gosar. Gosar could be lying about the White House. A million caveats on top of a million caveats. But this definitely sounds like they knew illegal stuff was going to be happening and they wanted the people in the streets to know they'd be protected. You do that so that people will be freed up to do what they actually want to do, which is apparently illegal stuff.
No, and here's the thing. It's I hate to draw, sort of a through line to some of the Russia stuff, some of the Ukraine stuff, but it's similar, right? In terms of you don't have to have it all spelled out to know where we're all going, what we're all doing, where we're headed, right? So there was a coordination going on here, right? There's a reason that Capitol Police were not staffed the way they needed to be. There was a reason that the National Guard wasn't there. There was a reason there wasn't the security, even though they knew the Stop the Steal rally was going on, right? So there's that. You don't have to have a handshake to know that everyone is in lockstep with this plan. And secondly, the Arizona Republican Party, which again, Gosar and Mobro and Andy Biggs, another character here in this sort of dream team, if the dream is a white ethno state. So that's Andy Biggs and Paul Gosar. The Republican Arizona's party tweeted Ali Alexander days before and was like, he's ready to give his life. Are you ? That's the official GOP of the Arizona state. Like, yep. What are we doing here, people? This was all set up for violence. They knew what it was going to lead to.
Yeah, 100%. And they apparently, these three sources that have been speaking with Rolling Stone have been talking with the commission informally. They say they expect to testify. I mean, God only knows. We don't know what's going to end up happening with that commission. We do know that the Republicans really, really, really didn't want the commission to exist. A commission that can investigate these sorts of claims and can look into the actual documented communications between these organizers and the staff and individual representatives. It's possible that if they do actually get the documents out of the White House, was Gosar, emailing Mark Meadows or Donald Trump? What was Meadows saying internally that might be documented? Maybe nothing, or maybe they got rid of it. We don't know for sure. I do know that some people are taking it seriously. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tweeted last night, any member of Congress who helped plot a terrorist attack on our nation's capital must be expelled. This was a terror attack. 138 injured, almost 10 dead. Those responsible remain a danger to our democracy, our country, and human life in the vicinity of our capital and beyond. And again, I will say, outside of the spicy bits that I mentioned, the core claims of this do not necessarily say that Madison Cawthorn was trying to get them to hang Mike Pence. Like to me, it doesn't directly rise to that level. But you'll notice that in the past 9 months, none of these people have come out and been like, oh yeah, no, I was totally involved in all that organization, which is fine because nothing bad happened with those protests. They've all been hiding it. They've all pretended that they weren't involved in this. And so none of this is proof necessarily of anything, but none of it looks good either.
No, and again, it reminds me of the Russia stuff, but here's what I'll say. Like, there are insurrectionists in Congress. We've known this. Now we have even more proof of that. And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is saying it. And Representative Cori Bush has introduced a piece of legislation after January 6th to expel those members, specifically under Section 3 of Article 14 of the Constitution, which straight up says that you cannot aid, abet, or give comfort to any insurrectionists. And I'm pretty sure that all of those lawmakers gave a whole lot of comfort to the people who planned the Stop the Steal rally and who then stormed the Capitol. It doesn't matter if that's not what some of them wanted. How many times have we been like, how many times is like, well, that wasn't, like, I didn't mean to kill that person, so therefore I can't be, an accessory to murder. No, man, you were there. You're an accessory to murder. That's what you're an accessory to insurrection. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and look, for Trump too. I mean, like, he literally said, "You're very special. I love you." That's comforting. That's nicer than most of the things that have been said to me in my life. Anyway, and again, I want to add one more thing that doesn't necessarily prove anything, but Marjorie Greene, there's a news cycle last night of, hey, you and a bunch of these other people were coordinating with them. It looks really bad. And a representative, AOC, says, if you were helping to plot this, you need to be expelled. Okay, so all that's out there. So how do you respond to it? Well, she tweeted at AOC, and I want you to evaluate whether, bearing in mind that her comms director says she wasn't involved in anything. This is what the actual congresswoman says. She says, again, I challenge you to debate me. You have a big problem understanding our laws because you want to tear our country apart because you are a communist. You are actually guilty of much worse. You and many Democrats funded, encouraged, and participated in civil war. And then it continued, and it did continue. It's a lot of tweets and I ain't reading them. But those tweets aren't about what happened. They're about inflation or whatever that AOC is a communist about. That's your response to multiple organizers of the protests saying that you and your staff had been directly involved, potentially with dozens of meetings. You guys did worse. That's what you say. That's admitting it basically at this point. That's not a strong defense.
I mean, we all remember what happened on January 6th, okay? Thousands of Trump supporters went to the steps of the Capitol building and screamed, "Debate me," and that's it. It was peaceful, and any other violence, that was all Antifa. They were just, all they wanted was an honest debate. Where sit there and change my mind. They were at a table that said, change my mind. That was it. I saw nothing else.
Okay, we're going to roll right through into one or two more quick stories. I do want to let you know that in a little bit, I'm going to be showing you some of the things awesome members of the community have sent in recently. We got a haul from our mail, so can't wait to do that. But let's jump into this video.
Maybe there's a call for a protocol much like the one that Fox has, where you sort of share your vaccine status. If you choose not to get vaccinated, you get regular testing so that you are not a threat to spread this to the workforce. It still happens. Cases seep through. I'm a good example of that. Yeah. The immunocompromised are in their own sort of little neck of the woods here. But I cannot stress this enough. This is not about left or right. This is not about who's conservative or liberal. Last time I checked, everyone, regardless of their political persuasion, is coming down with this. Cases are stabilizing, but we're still losing 3,000 people a day. We've lost 5 million globally to this. We've lost nearly 800,000 in the US. Take the political speaking points and toss them. For now, I'm begging you, toss them and think of what's good, not only for yourself, but for those around you. If you don't want to do it for yourself, if you think it's a pain in the ass, I get that. Right. But think of others around you. I dare say people who experience this or have seen loved ones who've been affected by this or have ever died from this are not judging the wisdom of mandates. They're wishing they got vaccinated.
That was Neil Cavuto there. I think he was a little bit off at the end. I think plenty of Republicans have watched family members die and still are not taking this seriously. It boggles the mind, but I think it's true. But there he is saying the right thing. And by right thing, I mean the only rational thing, the lowest possible bar. This is a deadly disease that's killing tons of people. Stop being political about it, just get the vaccine. And he has done that. He got sick anyway. He is immunocompromised. He has multiple sclerosis. He had open heart surgery. So he had other risk factors that apparently opened him up to getting infected. But He is trying to get through to Fox, but Francesca, I think we have a pretty good idea of the likelihood of widespread success in that effort.
I mean, it's a done deal. Unless you are reining in Carlson and Ingram and Hannity, they're doing it for the clicks and the eyeballs. You have to be an anti-vaxxer to be relevant on the right now. And you have to want the death of your own base if you want to stay relevant. Again, it never made sense to me, but it is nice to hear somebody, again, like, we just do a story about, about the insurrectionists and how there was back channels into Congress, and yet we're not even saying that it definitely happened between Congress and we give so much intellectual honesty to stories that we cover, and you rarely hear that from the right. So it is refreshing to have Neil Cavuto at least be like, yo, please essentially don't listen to any of my co-hosts.
Yeah, and he's gonna try, but we know how this is gonna work. Like, I don't even know how into Cavuto the base was anyway, but he's gonna be written off entirely by them. As you said, you have to go blonde.
He just needs to zhuzh it up,
Yeah, you have to be anti-vax, or you have to at least pretend with Trump as its head. This is an anti-society movement. That's all it is. There are some people who want us to have a society, and they're against that. Okay, like. We protest the establishment because they're stopping us from having a society that actually values everyone, that cares about the quality of their life. We want to replace it with one that makes our society stronger, more equitable. They are just against that. They're against any obligation, anything that would improve someone else's life. And so that's what we're seeing here. Again, you can protest if you want to. And by the way, let me say what would be a nice side effect of this is, so Fox News, you can cover protests that are about working conditions, as long as the working condition is whether you have to have a vaccine or not.
Yes.
In that very limited area, you care about the quality of life and respect for workers. What about their pay? What about their health insurance?
Yes.
What about their working hours? What about the risk that they undertake when they're on the job? What about discrimination in hiring or advancement? What about all of these things? Are those potentially also working conditions that you can care about? Because I guarantee if those same protesters put down their Kyrie Irving signs and picked up minimum wage signs or overtime compensation signs, those cameras would turn off real goddamn fast.
100%.
Yeah.
Great point.
Thank you. We've just finished effectively our first hour. We're not taking any actual breaks, but there is one thing that I want to do just briefly, and then I'm gonna read a few comments because you guys have been super supportive of us in dealing with the tech problems we had. So I don't want to, ignore that stuff. But first, every once in a while, we get a delivery from our mail drop-off point. I don't have access to it, but Dave Kohler brought some stuff. And as has so often been the case, some members of the community have sent some really awesome stuff. And so I want to thank them. So first of all, I just want to make sure that I pronounce all of your names correctly. So Keith sent this, which he 3D printed. It's I think it's like a pencil and pen stand, but it's designed to look like something out of Warhammer 40K. That's gonna go on my desk. Thank you so much for that.
That
Very
looks like
nice
a garbage
of you.
can.
It is basically. It's like a mini trashy, basically.
That's great.
But I love it. Thank you for that. It's big too. I don't know if that's really translating, but it's a nice weighty thing. So thank you for that. John Doe, it was the only name that was on it, sent me a Hawaiian shirt. He had previously sent a Hawaiian shirt with dragons on it. I've never seen a Hawaiian shirt with dragons. So John Doe, thank you for that. Very nice of you.
Nice.
Okay, and then there were two other things as well. So Blue Lizard Guts. So there's a message on it saying, to the people who screen these packages, please film John's response. Well, in this case, I screened the package, so you can't see my response, but I will say, I was literally laughing out loud. So I opened the box and I can see that it's an oversized Funko box of some kind. And I can't really tell what it is. I see that it's a dragon. I was like, oh, that's so cool. They sent in like a dragon Funko, because of like Dragon Squad. And then I saw the word daddy on the side and I was like, hold up a second.
Oh no.
Ain't no Funko got daddy on the side. What has happened? And so I open it and it is a handcrafted Daddy of Dragons
Holy
Funko of me on
God.
a dragon. And it's like he did the box, so it's got like the damage report. It's got The other people you can get, including you can see a whole bunch of people on the shows. Brett and Dr. Rashad Ritchie has a drawing of them. He did the art of me with the glasses and everything.
Am I on the drawings? Because otherwise I hate it.
You've been gone for a few. Oh, so this is you. If this had come out like a week later, oh, sorry, Blue Lizard Guts. Blue Lizard Guts is a she. Apologies. I think I said he. My apologies. This is the Twitch edition, and the Twitch room didn't exist at that point. So sorry.
That is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
It is so cool and so thoughtful. The art's on the front too, and it's got the damage report and Daddy of Dragons. It's so nice. I'm definitely gonna add that to the set. Blue Lizard Guts, thank you so much. It's so incredibly nice. And I literally laughed out loud. It was first thing in the morning. I walk in, it's raining, I'm tired, the caffeine hasn't kicked in, and I open up this thing and I was literally laughing like a maniac in the middle of an empty studio. So thank you so much for that. And then there is one more. So a while back, Altec Phoenix sent in this awesome wormwood dice tray. If you don't know Wormwood, they make accessories for people who play like tabletop games, like D&D, and it's just like they're like luxury wooden objects. It's so nice and it's got magnets and everything. So I got from Kide, who I hope is in the audience. I didn't see messages from Kide, but I really hope 2 other Wormwood products. So there's this awesome like purple wood infused dice like holder that's magnetized. It's so beautiful and so smooth. And then there is this, I believe this is for dice rolling. Not 100% sure, but that's probably what I'm gonna use it for. And again, it's multiple types of wood. Thank you so much, incredibly nice. I'm gonna get a lot of use out of this for board games and things like that. So thank you, Kide, as well. Very, very nice of you. I'm definitely gonna have to put a pic of some of these up on the Instagram. Blue Lizard Gut says, I paint and sculpt Funkos on my live stream if anyone wants to watch it. I wanna see that. I didn't even know that was a thing that people did. But everybody, so thank you so much, Keith and John Doe and Kide and Blue Lizard Guts. So nice to come in. Basically, it's like Christmas when I walk in when there's stuff like that. So thank you very much. Okay, we've got a lot that we're gonna get to, but first I do want to acknowledge some stuff going on in the audience. Ashley Turner became a tier 1 member. Thank you so much for that. Kayla has been a tier 1 member for 4 months. Says Halloween molasses toffees are the worst. I don't know off the top of my head what those are like, but that sounds good to me.
Yeah, that does kind of sound good.
It does. Okay, let's see. Vicky Gray sent in a big super chat saying, a fantastic Monday. Missed you, Francesca. Awesome way to start the week. Much love to you all. Thank you.
I missed you. I was going through withdrawals. It was pretty sad. I was like, I need this. Anyway.
I know. We were like getting into a groove. We had a bunch of guest hosts and stuff.
Boo.
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 Thank you for that, Vicky. Gail Hafner says candy corn is the devil. I don't understand the candy corn hate. I really don't.
We're gonna talk about it in our bonus, right?
Well, actually, why don't I let people know? So we're gonna do a top 10 list as we always do on Mondays for tier 2 and tier 3 members on YouTube. We had suggested to Francesca top 10 best Halloween candies, and Francesca was in a mood, so she said, "How about the worst?" And so we're gonna be doing the worst. That's gonna be awesome.
I am a glass half empty kind of girl.
Let's see. Global Astro says, John, I literally just started Dune after waiting 25 minutes. Sorry to interrupt your Dune watching. Let's see. Trista says, I'm in love with Francesca as a political commentator. She's been getting better and better, and now her voice is imperative if you're interested in left politics.
Ooh, awesome. Thank you.
Laura says, thank you, Franny, for reminding us how horrible that day was. We can't let these idiots continue to play the victim. So frustrating. It does.
Yeah.
Kide was watching, sent it a super chat, says, well, I guess the joke on the wormwood engraving will be pretty on point today. The snowflake is a signature as my name is Finnish for crystal. I did not know that, so I actually learned something additionally. Thank you. It is so incredibly thoughtful. I believe you had sent a message a little bit ago about whether it had arrived, and thankfully it did, because it's, also, by the way, I make stuff out of wood, and when I see something like this, I think, God damn, I'm terrible at this.
I want you to do the damage report long enough so that they make you wooden teeth. But
wormwood teeth?
Different kinds of
I could see
wood.
That at some point.
I mean, like you can just clatter around. Anyway.
Oh, I didn't read. I apologize. A kid reminded me. I didn't read the engraving, so it says we're running out of time. I'm going to use Dimension Door to skip the D block of this dungeon. That was one of the things that made me laugh earlier. Thank you. It's a D&D spell if you don't know. But thank you for that. I think we will actually get to the D block. We're gonna be doing that in just a minute. But first on Twitch, Pickle Hippie hit 14 months. Thank you for that. Big Bull Dragon hit 14 months as well. Damn. Francis the Rogue hit 18 months. Who's gonna hit 21st? I can't wait to find out, but that's awesome, Francis the Rogue. Ray of Sunshine hit 2, says huzzah, thank you. Dragon Pool 420 hit 5 months, says Fran. Oh, I see, okay. Fran, John threatened to change Mondays to Viviana Mondays. I'm snitching. I did not do that. I might have jokingly said that. I might have like written out like a brief, like short paper working out exactly what we would do, how we would focus on it. Like 1 page max though. I mean, is that really like threatening?
Oh my God. You had a draft email ready to go?
I did not. I'm kidding.
Me?
Why would you do that?
No.
Miss Frass.
Yay, Viviana. I'm glad she filled in.
She was fun. Yeah, she did 2 days, and Sabrina filled in for the third while you were gone.
Yeah.
Ray of Sunshine gifted 5 subs. Damn. The Evil Wolf gifted 10. Leftover Zach hits 14 months. Says going for a management position at the company I work for. Wish me luck, Dragons. Good luck. Good luck to you. Okay, we have others. I will get to those in just a little bit, but we're gonna jump back into the news because I assume my producers are probably losing it. So let's move into this. Little update on the infrastructure negotiations, just for fun. I love it. So it's not been going well recently. If you believe that this bill should deliver to the American people on, the actual problems that they have and the promises that Biden made, Democrats are haggling now over whether to drop 2 of the most popular elements of their bill. According to a half dozen sources, I'll consider that confirmed. One is a plan to expand Medicare with dental, vision, and hearing benefits for tens of millions of seniors, as well as a pitch to guarantee paid family and medical leave to all US workers now in danger of getting cut from the bill entirely. So why? We just said it's like the most popular part. You ran on those things. Why would you cut it? Well, paid leave and Medicare expansion may not fit in a package that conforms to Joe Manchin's preferred price tag. But I have a follow-up question. Which preferred price tag? When exactly did he cite the price tag? Because we've shown you this before. At one point, he was calling for 4 trillion in infrastructure spending. That wasn't the 70s. It wasn't the 80s. This ain't a Stranger Things thing. That was this year. Now it's 1.5. Kind of a big difference. Maybe he should explain that, but he's not going to. Anyway, it turns out I did some research. He's not the only senator. There are other senators, and one of them had this to say. Mr. Bernie Sanders said, the expansion of Medicare to cover dental, hearing, and vision is one of the most popular and important provisions in the entire reconciliation bill. It's what the American people want. It's not coming out. And I like to hear it. I like to hear it. It was a promise. It is necessary. It's very popular. We'll get to those numbers in a little bit. But remember, he could still threaten to vote down this entire thing, the reconciliation bill and the attached bipartisan bill. It is one of his priorities. He's been pushing for that for a long time. And this ain't Bernie Sanders' dream to just do expansion for dental, hearing, and vision. That's not what he wants, but he does know that we need that. And if that's what he can get, that's what he's gonna fight for. So Francesca, I'm glad to see that he's sticking to his guns.
I mean, it's interesting because, and I will admit this, that I don't think I knew that Medicare didn't include dental, vision, or hearing, right? I mean, these are things, your facilities when you're older are going to need a little tune-up. They're gonna need some help. Dental is incredibly expensive when you get older, as is hearing and of course your eyesight. So it's just so heartbreaking to know that even the few programs that we do have that were hard fought for, that actually Republicans know that they can't take away from their voters, which is why they never talk about Medicare, right? They're just like, the debt. We have to, do something about the debt, and we're China. Meanwhile, I would love to privatize Medicare if I can, right? The Paul Ryan dream type stuff. So, but it's so basic and it's so critical. And again, we talk about the vaccine is just a giant culture war distraction from what people actually need. And if there's anything that proved that we need these things, it's a goddamn pandemic.
Yeah, and imagine, like, such a good point. Like, we were talking about it being the distraction. Fox needs it. They need something to talk about, because think about what alternatively, if they were actually what they say they are, if Tucker Carlson was actually a right-wing populist,
yes,
what would they be doing every day? They'd be reporting honestly on these interminable, like, evolutions and devolutions and the negotiations. They'd be telling their base what's on the docket right now, what's potentially being taken off, who's threatening to take it off and why. And then think about what the right-wing base, if they were actually presented with that information, would be thinking. Many of them desperately need the expansion of vision, dental, and hearing in Medicare. They're on Medicare, they need it. Some of them have had kids, would have loved to have had paid leave, are planning to have kids, would like to have it in the future. They're old, they want the elder care. They don't care about the climate change stuff so much, but these things they would very much want. And so if the right wing was seriously discussing this, what you would actually have is them, Tucker Carlson, inspiring his base to root for AOC and Bernie Sanders to defeat the corporate Dems if they actually cared about delivering on the economic anxiety that their base has. And they can't have that, Francesca.
No, I mean, he would be for unions, but like also for segregation in unions if he was an actual right-wing populist, right? Always continually blame people of color, blame immigrants, but they're like good on class stuff. So yeah, you're totally right. It's not what he is. And it also makes me frustrated because, look, I get that the Build Back Better Act is so massive and that there are so many transformative pieces that are now being, completely stripped for parts, but that you can't really it's difficult to sell it around one thing. But if there is one thing, out in front that like a lot of older voters, a lot of more conservative voters, sadly, it's not even home care, which you would think would be something that they are for, because again, home care workers, often women, often people of color. And so it is Medicare. Just keep talking about like vision and dental. Have like an old grandma put on glasses for the first time. I can see that Joe Biden helped me to see. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can see. Like just do something corny like that. Like that's how you have to sell this, because I swear I've spoken to Republicans who are like, well, it's the damn immigrants coming across the border and and I was like, do you know that Republicans in your state are trying to take away Medicare and like throughout the country and your state? And they're like, oh, I don't like that. I hate that.
Yeah. Exactly.
And it's like,
no, and you could make it right wing if you want to. Have the old woman. And she opens up a box. It's the hearing aid she needs. With my new hearing aid, I can hear creepy Joe Biden sneaking up behind me. Thanks for the hearing aid, but stay back, Joe. You can do that. Make it for your audience. I'm not gonna make the ad for you. You can do whatever you want. But anyway, I'm glad that Bernie said like 5 people are fighting for us in the entire government. Thank God we at least have those, and that makes it even weirder that there are people on Twitter who supposedly are on the left, and literally the only thing they do is attack the only people that are helping us.
With my new teeth, I can take a bite out of socialism. Arr.
We should make these ads. Okay, with that, we are like less than 10 minutes. So we're gonna do 2 more topics in 10 minutes. They said it couldn't be done. Some are saying, should you really do that? That seems too fast, but we're gonna do it anyway. Okay, let's jump into this video.
Well, first, I think it's important to point out on a scientific basis, most of those first responders have had COVID and have recovered. So they have strong protection. And so I think that influences their decision on a lot of this, that they have already had it and recovered. And so they're making no accommodations for that. They're still pretending like that doesn't even exist. And so that's really, really troubling when you see that. But I can tell you, Maria, in Florida, not only are we going to want to protect the law enforcement and all the jobs, we're actually actively working to recruit out-of-state law enforcement because we do have needs in our police and our sheriff's departments. So in the next legislative session, I'm going to hopefully sign legislation that gives a $5,000 bonus to any out-of-state law enforcement that relocates in Florida. So NYPD, Minneapolis, Seattle, if you're not being treated well, we'll treat you better here. You can fill important needs for us, and we'll compensate you as a result.
Okay, now your first instinct might be to say Ron DeSantis is using taxpayer funds to pursue a presidential campaign. That's the only point of any of this, is just, hey, conservatives around the country, we love your bad cops and we don't care about COVID. That is one, technically that's a big part of it, I will admit that. But he also does need to deliver for Florida in the things that Florida needs. And what Florida needs is more cops who have been chosen specifically because they've proven that they don't care about public health and they won't follow the rules. And Florida's been desperately needing more of that. And he's found a way to bring them in from all around the country, Francesca.
Oh my God, just blew the conch shell on like every bad cop. Like I want he just blew through an actual bad apple. Like, like what? Oh my God. Just he's so the worst. I'm very much looking forward to Cuban refugees going the other way at this point because of how bad Ron DeSantis is and has been for that state. I mean, it's upsetting because I know there are good people in Florida. There are good lawmakers in Florida. The Democratic Party needs to do way better to combat some of this stuff. I mean, in terms of actually reframing the debate to be about supporting things like Medicare for all on a statewide level, things like social programs, actual small businesses. Like I am like there's that like coastal lib in me that's like, I can't wait for Florida to break off into the Caribbean. And then there's the, it's been the source of way too much, evil, hanging chads and such. But I'm also like, it is such a battleground. And I hope that the people of Florida can get a handle on this and get a handle on him. I mean, the guy is untouchable, politically untouchable when it comes to COVID. No matter what he does.
He's literally importing more people who have proven that they don't care about COVID and they will not stop unless they help spread it. And by the way, we're gonna jump around just a little bit super fast. So first of all, he says we need to do this because we desperately need cops. They don't. Back in May, the Orlando Sentinel said that there's steady levels of staffing, like they're not having problems finding cops. Total lie. It's a total lie. It's just a political thing. By the way, in Florida, they've apparently had a quote devastating wave of police deaths due to COVID-19. 120 have died across the country. Florida has been more heavily, disproportionately represented in that. And why wouldn't they? They have a leader who doesn't care about COVID, who advocates for the virus. Every time you give him a choice between something that will minimize death and something that will increase it, he is always gonna choose the increase. Not because it really reflects anything about his ideology, except that he wants to be president and he knows what the base is like. And the base does not want to see you caring about COVID deaths. So he's not gonna go in that direction.
I really hope super fast. We need a BLM march in Florida and it's gonna be a cough-in, no masks, all vax, but we cough all over police. Well, it'll be a cough-in. And we'll see if that leads to anything. Just like, streets, our streets, like that kind of thing.
Okay, I'm gonna read one or two comments while we get ready for, let's do the G block. I think we can do that relatively fast. We only have a few minutes, is that okay? Okay, I'm gonna read a comment. Let's see, Global Astro says, worst candy, the old toothpaste tube style Ghostbusters Slimer bubblegum. I don't even know what that is, but that sounds terrible. Although I did watch Ghostbusters 2 this last weekend and it was quite good. Let's see, Kamo gifted a tier 1 sub, thank you for that. April Fools hit 7 months. Let's see, E Wood hit 9, thank you. Okay, with that, let's jump into this video. We only have a few minutes.
H.
Oh, he got it on record.
That is devastating video that I hope by now you've already seen. I hope that over the past few days, the past week or so, that has been burned into everyone's memory. Shantel Arnold there being assaulted by a police officer. We want to give you an update on that story that we've talked about. I know on Indisputable they've been talking about it. And here's the update. You're gonna be shocked to find out that the police officer that did that has had previous issues with excessive force. He's a 16-year veteran of the sheriff's office, Julio Alvarado, been named in the most excessive force suits out of any of the department's other current deputies. He is the most apparently prone to violence. Notice that they don't say the only one who's faced these sorts of things. He's just the worst. He's been named in 9 federal civil rights lawsuits, all involving the use of excessive force. 2 suits were settled, one of them involving the beating of a 14-year-old boy, and 2 are pending with the remaining dismissed. So back in 2016, the one with the boy, he grabbed this boy by the neck and slammed his head against the ground in concrete as the child was screaming, "Why are you doing this to me?" Alvarado then threatened to have the boy and his family deported. 2 years later, a lawsuit claimed that Alvarado and 3 deputies beat Atner Casco, a Honduran native, and stole more than $2,000 from him at a traffic stop, then conspired to have him deported. That suit was settled on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving last year for $50,000. He was demoted last year from sergeant to deputy. They didn't say why, but he was demoted, probably for one of these horrendous things that he did to the people that live in his area. And so that was the individual, taking a woman by her hair, by her braids, literally ripping her braids out of her head and slamming her down. How could anyone have seen it coming with this guy? You just had to keep him on.
I'm sorry, the sheriff's department in Los Angeles needs to be abolished straight up. I mean, I know we've covered this, we've talked about this. There are gangs in the sheriff's department. They laud one another, they celebrate the violence. The more violence, the better. The entire thing needs to be completely eradicated, okay? The head of the sheriff's department, Alex Villanueva, knows about this. He's been knowing about the gangs. There has been no reform. It is beyond reform, okay? They serve no purpose anymore other than to terrorize communities, and especially Black and Latino communities.
Yeah. And in this case, he did the same thing that he did to someone else. So is he responsible? Yes, he's responsible. His bosses that continued sending him out in the streets after he did it to the boy, also responsible. And when they keep him on after this, they should be held responsible for the next person that he goes and brutalizes, because that is obviously his MO. He's gonna keep doing as long as you allow him. And as you're pointing out, this department is perfectly fine with allowing that to continue happening. Okay, we'll have more in the future. I apologize, we are out of time. Thank you everyone for sticking with us with the tech problems that we had. We will be filming our top 10 list in just a little bit. Francesca, it's great to have you back. Thank you for being back with us.
Thank you.
Everyone check out the Twitchation room on Wednesday. We'll have more details for you, but we gotta run. Until next time, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and we'll see you soon.